Welcome everybody to our brand new podcast that I'm so excited to finally reveal. Been working on this for a couple of months and I'm just so excited to finally reveal the Landsmeet podcast, a brand new podcast, yay, from myself. And today I have my first ever guest on, and this is Marshall, one of my mods on my Discord. Marshall, introduce yourself to everyone out there.
Hello, nice to meet everyone. I'm Marshall. Some of you might know me as Jackdaw's Mod on his Discord and YouTube, or the person with the most likes in his comments. I hold that title so high right now.
You literally have like over 300 likes on my comments, so the people have spoken, Marshall. They like what you have. They like what you have to offer.
I love democracy. Yeah, I'm really excited. We've been planning this for a while now, and now we can finally get it going.
Absolutely. We've been planning this since the start of the year, and I just wanted to really just get a different kind of podcast going in the BioWare space, something more interview and community driven, and that's the point of the Landsmeet. It's for me, hopefully it can be something where it's not just me with similar guests or similar hosts every week. I want to be bringing on other people every other time we do an episode, and just try and spotlight other people in the Dragon Age space, other creators, just people, even just other fans, just other people who I want to talk to in this community, and that can just be talking about Dragon Age, what we like, or it can just be really fun conversations around the universe, or very deep-rooted personal conversations of what Dragon Age means to people, but all around just a very nice person-based, interview-based podcast where it's just a good fun place to talk about Dragon Age, good vibes, and hopefully, you know, a bit of heartwarming stories that we can share in the future. But yeah, I wanted to mix up a bit, put my journalism degree to use.
Finally,
yeah.
Journalism degree.
Yeah, finally kick something off where it could be a platform where I can interview certain people in the community in the future, and I can just bring on anyone really and just have a good fun conversation about Dragon Age or about whatever really in the BioWare space. And so yeah, that's why Marshall's here today to kick this off. One of my great mods and a really great friend who I would feel comfortable with kicking this off.
I would hope you feel comfortable with me. I'm gonna live in your house for like 10 days before during my quarantine.
Yeah, Marshall's actually coming to stay with me in September for 10 days because he's actually coming to study in England, aren't you? You're coming to study in Newcastle.
Yeah, getting my master's. It's gonna be crazy. I'm scared because I know you're gonna try to make me eat beans on toast, which looks disgusting.
No, beans on toast is great. You'll love it.
Tea I can deal with. Tea I can deal with. Beans on toast, I'm not sure.
You're gonna have beans on toast. You're gonna have sausages, bacon, black pudding, toast, the lot. You're gonna have everything. Everything. We are going to throw it at you, and it's going to be great. I'm literally going to live my British experiences through you vicariously again, and it's going to be a great time.
I'll take your word for it.
Don't judge until you try it. That's all I can say.
All right. Valid.
So just for people who don't know Marshall and who kind of want to get a taste of what this podcast is going to be in the future, I'm going to interview Marshall. We're going to ask him some questions, nothing too serious, and then we're going to probably talk about a conversation that we've chosen to really hound. The aim of the podcast isn't to be very structured. You know, in the past with the Tinfoil Tea Party, it was very much law-driven, structured, make sure that we talk about that, make sure that this is talked about. For this podcast, I want it to be natural. I want it to just be fun conversations, nothing too forced, nothing where it's like, oh, forgot to mention that. You know, obviously if we do talk about law, we're going to try and make sure that we are fully sourced.
Yeah, have resources and stuff.
Yeah, but also this is just going to be more of a nice fun thing to do where we just have fun conversations that it isn't having to prep, you know, a month in advance to talk about one particular topic.
I mean, I think we're doing pretty good so far. We don't have a script or anything. We just like,
absolutely.
All right, how do we start? All right, let's go.
Yeah. Like, oh, how do we start this? Oh, okay, I guess we'll just talk about, you know, whatever, and then how we
we're flying on the edge of our seats here. So
yeah, we absolutely are, and we've just got points that we've remembered having, you know, worked on this podcast for a fair bit. But no, honestly, it's just the excitement alone of talking about Dragon Age and just different content and you know, and looking at the future of how I would like to get more community focused. I guess we should start with Marshall. What got you into Dragon Age? Where did Dragon Age originate in your life? How did you get into it?
See, I've always been like a big fantasy fan, and probably the big game for me was Skyrim back in 2011. Of course, I played the game all the time. I had a very good friend of mine who also played Skyrim, and he was like, "Oh, hey man, I gotta show you this thing from this game I've been playing." I'm like, "Oh, cool. What is it?" And it was the Iron Bull romance scene in Inquisition. I was like, "Oh, that's hilarious. What game is that from?" He's like, "Oh, it's from this game called Dragon Age Inquisition." And then I think like that Christmas, I got it for the PS4, and that was my first Dragon Age game, and I loved it. I had no idea what was going on because it's the third third game in the franchise.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't realize how big of a deal Corypheus was, considering he had been a previous villain, even if minor. But I was like, oh man, cool.
Do you feel like Inquisition was a good entry point for the series, or did you struggle with getting like the aspects of the lore, or was it all right to get into it? How did you find
I
it?
mean, I think it was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Dragon Age, I feel, is different from Mass Effect, as most of the games could be a very good entry point to the series as a
Absolutely.
whole. There's enough continuity to where fans will understand and get references to what's going on and see the actions of previous games come into effect. But there's also enough, like, I guess, friendliness to new players to where anyone could just hop on in. Which you can tell it's kind of like why BioWare prefers to not add numbers to their games. Like, I think they stated somewhere that they didn't like naming Dragon Age 2 because it makes it seem like a direct continuation, kind of like Mass Effect, which I do not think you can jump into Mass Effect through Mass Effect 3.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you cannot.
You kind of need to play the first two, or at least, have an establishment of the lore. Yeah,
Or at least know what's going on. You can't just be like,
yeah.
I've never heard of this franchise before. I'll start with the third one. No, you can't do that.
Yeah, I think that was more a business decision from EA. Like, oh, Origins sold really well. Well, this is a sequel to Dragon Age Origins, so name it 2 so everyone knows that this is a sequel to that amazing game, so buy it. As opposed to obviously calling it Dragon Age Exodus, which is just what I like to call it that now. But yeah, it is a shame that...
I do like that name. It's a really good name.
Yeah, hopefully Dragon Age 4 isn't going to literally be called Dragon Age 4. We know it's not going to be, but I can just imagine if it's like, we're so excited for what the next title's going to be, and it's just going to be Dragon Age 4.
It's like, because every time Dragon Age has been like, what do we think we're going to see with Dragon Age? I'm always like, I just want to see a title drop.
Yes,
like, that's it.
yes.
Like,
We want to see dragons, we want to see the Dread Wolf, we want to see Darkspawn, we want to see Sandalmecha return, but right now, all we want is just a nice, clean title.
we got to know what to clickbait YouTube videos with. You can't just keep saying new Dragon Age over and over again.
Absolutely. But no, I agree with the entry points where with Mass Effect it is very much different to Dragon Age, where I think Dragon Age Inquisition as an entry point is probably a little bit difficult because you've got like the Divine's dead, the world's in chaos, you have a magical anchor that's connected to this other realm called the Fade, and it's just chaos, as opposed to where in Mass Effect it is very much okay, go deal with the collectors.
Well, Mass Effect 3 also kind of opens with chaos. Like, man, there's these giant insect robots descending from the sky that everyone seems to know about. I feel like Dragon Age 4 might be a little bit more difficult because the Dreadwolf is such a pre-established entity with being soulless and being a whole companion that it might be a little more difficult to get into, but we don't really know what they're going to do.
Yeah,
So
I think honestly it could be easier because new continent, new establishment of law,
you're right.
new character.
We're going away from a lot of what we know. So
yeah, so it could be like Origins. It could be like Origins again, where it's like, oh, you go into a new place. Maybe there is origin stories, or there is some mechanic where it is like that. You've got new characters.
Dragon Age Origins 2.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that would be. Can you imagine that as a title? Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, 13 years later.
Yeah. But no, it'd be interesting because obviously I think it's going to be interesting from people who have Dragon Age 4 as their entry point, and then how we compare those people in the fandom to Inquisition, where it's like, oh, we know Solas as our friend who then became our foe or whatever he is in DF4. And then they're going to have this perception of, well, wait, Solas was your companion in Dragon Age Inquisition? Wait, you could romance Solas in Inquisition? Whereas they're going to have that perception of Solas being evil or whatever they do. Again, the assumption that he is going to be the antagonist. It's going to be so funny, and it's just going to be great just to see that freshness in the fandom of, wow, different people have different entry points, and seeing Solas as their friend compared to him actually being a villain or whatever he will be in Dragon Age 4.
It really makes me think. I feel like this is definitely a conversation for another Landsmeet episode, but I really wonder what the default world state of Inquisition choice is going to be like.
Yeah.
Who drank from the well? Are we trying to redeem or destroy Solas? Like, it's those things that are like, I wonder what race and gender and class is the Inquisitor going to be? Like, it's the it's a big question.
They might do it as an elf just because of all the law establishment with elves in Dragon Age Inquisition, but I think that would be the most canon sense. But yeah, I'm honestly not sure. It'd be interesting for sure. Like, I think default divine would be Liliana.
I guess so. It fits into her character arc more than I feel like it does Cassandra or Vivienne. So
yeah, unless they want to do the tragic Inquisitor Cassandra romance and then she's divine, and it's just like, why?
No, don't do that to me, no, please. Even though it's not going to be in my world, but
maybe I don't even think they actually do canon romances when they do the canon states.
Yeah, everyone's
no romance. Yeah,
no romance. So while we might might get a Lavella, and I doubt we'll get a Soulless
Yeah,
romance.
and I'm excited for that. But yeah, right now, all we really want is a title. What does Mass Effect mean? Sorry, what does Dragon Age mean to you? Would you say,
Mass
Marshall?
Effect me. I just started recently.
And what does what does it mean for you? What's it done for you? Is it just escapism, or is it has it given you many good
Definitely,
experiences?
no, definitely. I wouldn't say escapism because I like my life. It's just fun, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a sucker for good storytelling and fun
Absolutely.
gameplay. I feel like Inquisition delivers that, and
Yeah.
so does the rest of the series. Some in more aspects of this. We're going to talk about that today. my hot takes that will get me scared alive, but it's just really fun. Like I just always enjoy playing Dragon Age, especially Inquisition.
Yeah.
I don't get bored. Like I've played Inquisition like 4 times, 5 times, which I know for some people might be amateur, right? Like, well, I've got 10 playthroughs clocked in. But I find myself every single time I go back to play Inquisition, I always find something new. I learn something new. I try something slightly different, even if all my choices are the exact same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just so much fun.
So I think no company, while some try, I was watching the Guardians of the Galaxy game yesterday. Many companies try and emulate BioWare games.
Don't get me started on
just-
like I was here the Square Enix thing for some JRPGs, and they come at you with like Marvel game for 30 minutes or 15 minutes. It was.
But you can see that it's trying to emulate that BioWare feel, but I just feel like no company has managed to yet. And I know some like Spiders who create Greedfall.
I played Greedfall.
You just see that they're trying to emulate that BioWare feel, but in reality, at this current moment, no company has managed to do as good as a job as BioWare. As much as the people give BioWare a lot of crap these days, there has been no games company, in my opinion, that has been able to emulate BioWare games as much as they do, with the narrative experiences, the choices and consequences, the dialogue, all of it.
They have this niche, and they do that niche like at the highs of the highs. They do that niche extremely well.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty good. Also, they obviously falter from time to
Absolutely,
time.
absolutely, like
like everyone does. But
absolutely,
whenever they hit that sweet spot in their narrative storytelling, it's so nice.
Absolutely,
and it's so impactful.
It really is, and it means so much to everyone. So many people in the fandom can come up and just get a different bit out of Dragon Age compared to someone else. Like everyone finds their own interests and what they love in the fandom and in the game. Sorry, compared to everyone else. Like people can love Cole, for example, and my sweet son, and some people just attach to other characters.
Boy.
And I love that though, because not many games, they do cater to a certain demographic. Whereas BioWare try and expand that demographic and really try and make games for more than just a typical gamer and for everyone else. And I really like that, and I appreciate that. For example, the tactic system. I myself might not like the tactic system, but there are other people who are disabled and they find the tactic system really,
here's the thing, we're talking about gameplay today, and I was going to mention how I was so against the tactic system until I saw your video, and that person was like, I need it because of I'm disabled. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so ableist, what is wrong with me?
But that's the thing, like, we don't realize, but like how accessible BioWare are. It's great, it really is, and we don't, someone like me and you obviously take that for granted, but in reality they really are game changers. Anyhow, let's move on to a main conversation. Let's move on to our big topic, which is about the gameplay. So what have you got for us, Marshall? What are we talking about in particular with the gameplay of Dragon Age?
I think since Dragon Age is a video game, right? So like, hear me out, right? I think the gameplay is a very, very important part of the puzzle. Like, I understand a lot of people are only here for Dragon Age for the story.
Yeah.
I get that, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I'm there for it too. And I know some people in the Discord that we've talked to are like, yeah, I suck at playing games. I just want to date cute elves. I'm like, I valid. That's a very valid thing to do. In terms of like, as a video game franchise, the gameplay is extremely important because while we Dragon Age fans will be there no matter how shitty the gameplay is, trying to get in a general audience is also very good just from a company sense. So making the gameplay fun and enjoyable is very crucial. My big thing is that like everyone's saying, oh man, I want a Dragon Age Origins remaster, I want a Dragon Age 2 remaster. I'm like, if they do, they need to completely overhaul the gameplay system because it's aged so terribly.
It's so slow. Yeah.
It's so like that because I played the games not backwards, but I did Inquisition, Origins, and 2.
Yeah.
And going from Inquisition to Origins was the most extreme case of whiplash I think I've ever experienced. It was so just like chunky and like slow. And I play like again, I've only played through Origins one time. and I played as a warrior. So if other classes are more fun to play, then I will completely believe you because I have not had that experience of playing. I've heard that mage is rather fun from a tactical position because you can
Yeah, you can.
combine
Yeah.
spells and stuff like that, but I just like the quick movement and thinking on your feet in this kind of game. Like, don't get me wrong, like I said earlier, I was at the Square Enix conference for some JRPGs. I like to take my time and
Yeah.
think about strategy when it comes to those kind of games, but I don't think of BioWare games as necessarily a slow and steady type thing. And while people might disagree with me, and that's perfectly fine, I like them more as a action RPG rather than like, a slow tactical RPG.
Yeah.
I do think that we should keep the tactics system for the sake of the fans and for the sake of people who are disabled, but I won't be using it because I like it more snappy and fluid.
Yeah.
Like Origins was slow and clunky. 2 was Origins, but I would say more smooth.
Yeah, more smooth and faster.
More smooth and faster. And then they finally kind of hit a nice little sweet spot with Inquisition. And I'm very curious about where they're going to go with 4 because they've had Andromeda and Anthem to kind of like really expand
test
on
the
this.
waters, absolutely. Yeah, and you think about the improvements, like not just for BioWare's sake, but you look around the games industry as a whole and how many other games have advanced gameplay-wise, like God of War, Horizon, and how they're iterating on new types of gameplay. You think that if Dragon Age 4 is going to be a 2023 title, is it looking around right now at other games that are in the space, and is it actually going to iterate on ideas they're doing too? As much as we want, maybe a more action-based combat system or gameplay system, what else is it going to take from other games? Is it actually going to take any other ideas from God of War? I imagine God of War Ragnarok will be out by then. Is it going to look at those games, even games like Red Dead or other games in a similar genre? Are BioWare looking at that, and are they actually going to iterate on that? Because while they could just up Inquisition's combat, maybe add a little bit more Anthem flair there, with it being faster and maybe, more flashy. What else are they going to take? Are they actually going to take an inspiration from other games? Are they going to take inspiration from other RPGs? Are they looking at a keen eye on actually not just how to create a better combat system, but how to create a revolutionary gameplay system that's actually not just going to go, oh, that's really cool, but influence other games in the future too? What are they going to do with the new system? Are they going to make it better, or are they actually going to try and revolutionize it? I think Dragon Age Origins for its time was pretty revolutionary. It's tactical and third-person RPG combat in one, an amalgamation of the two. That was revolutionary back in 2009 because everyone loved playing isometric RPGs, and then there was this wave of third-person RPGs, and Origins having that amalgamation was great.
It's like that mix between Diablo and Oblivion.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
And I will say everyone always wants to be the next innovator. Everyone wants to be the
Yes,
next
like
Breath of the
Bethesda.
Wild.
Yeah,
Everyone
absolutely.
wants
Yeah.
to inspire the next 5 years of video games.
Yes.
And while I don't necessarily think that it's not possible, it's
Yeah.
certainly possible. Anything's possible. We just have to see what they plan on doing because we only have like a tiny, tiny snippet of like
Yes.
probably like earliest alpha gameplay.
In-engine, tiny prototype, little third person, but it was very indicative of a third person action RPG. We saw that Grey
It looked
Warden,
a lot
yeah.
from what it looked like Mass Effect, but pulled back slightly.
Yeah.
Inquisition was very much like wide panning camera and stuff like that, and it really I imagine they will be looking at other games because obviously you want to look at what successful games and companies do and say, how can we incorporate this type of thing into our name and give it our own little flair, our little spice, and see how it does. So I definitely think they will look at other companies. Whether or not they just try to emulate them, I doubt it, because they could do so much more, and they probably they are going to do so much more than that. But I definitely think inspiration will be taken where inspiration is needed, and that's not a bad thing. It's a great thing.
Absolutely, it's a great thing. It really is, because I see so many features in like God of War or Final Fantasy VII, and I'm like, oh, this would be really cool if BioWare took ideas from this, and even older games like Dragon's Dogma, Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. I'm like, I really hope BioWare are looking at these sorts of games because that would be great. Right now there's a lot of speculation about the new concept art pieces and how they may represent next classes in the next game, and that could potentially being a mage archer, a mage who's also a bit of a rogue. Maybe they can use their staff as like a dagger, and that right there will be amazing, and a revolutionary combat system. Yeah, it's a perfect inspiration for that is games like Dragon's Dogma and Kingdoms of Amalur, where they have there's multi classes that converge into one, and it's amazing. It's so good.
While I definitely want a more action feel, I also want them to kind of more go hammer down the RPG elements. Because like I think that's like is a multi-classing, just like pure like RPG Dungeons and Dragons bullshit type stuff.
Yes,
Like
yeah,
I
attributes. Bring
I,
back
I
that
don't
system again, you know?
I don't need you to auto assign my points. I know where I should
Yeah,
put them.
yeah,
And
yeah.
what if I want to mid max to high hell? You know, like
Yeah, I suppose it's
and
not just having it simplified as well. It's having it actually,
mhm.
maybe simplified for people who want it that way. That's great. But
The
having, going in,
yeah,
letting players go into it, like in Origins, you could go into it and go, okay,
yeah.
Morrigan's going to be a defender, Alice is going to be offensive, and my character
You
is
can
going
make
to be a
your own
healer.
builds entirely, yeah. When it comes to like these kind of games, like RPGs, the more control you give your players, the better it's gonna be.
Yeah,
Like, yes, you might kind of have like a little bit of a barrier of entry for people who just want to jump in and play a game, but like that's fine. Let people learn through trial and error or just by having friends assist them and just give them the control they need to customize
absolutely.
their style entirely.
I think that with recent entries, they have made it more casual, which is understandable. But I would like a return to that Origins where you can, if tactics is in it, and when you enter combat situations, to be able to customize that.
Definitely want more of like an actiony flair, but at the same time, I want more of a technical RPG side of the gameplay. Like there's like two sides of the same coin. You have like the numbers game, and then you have what happens with the numbers game, which is all the flashy effects.
Yeah.
Like I went so deep into the Inquisition technical stuff.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
made I've talked about this before on the Discord and stuff, but I've made an unkillable arcane warrior because I like just looking at the enchantments and the armor and stuff. Like I found there was a enchantment focus or whatever the main thing you can do is to where it gives you guard on hit, like
Yeah.
warrior guard
Yeah.
on hit, and then as an arcane warrior, you naturally generate shield on hit, and
Yeah.
so with those two things combined, I don't die. And it's so fun. Nothing is more satisfying than when you're playing an RPG and you game the system so hard you become unstoppable. It's
Yeah.
so
It's
satisfying because it feels
yeah.
like you've mastered the system, and that kind of reward is why I want more hands-on control because giving the people that kind of satisfaction is going to make it so much more memorable and so much more influential on them as a person because they're like, yeah, well, my guy's unkillable, so
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. I agree. What would you like to see for the classes in the next game? Would you like to actually see crossover classes, like having mages
I
potentially also be warriors as well?
I see no reason why someone who was born a mage can't learn to use a sword. Maybe this is because between playing Inquisition and the current time, I've gotten really into Dungeons and Dragons, but like the more wacky and kind of like combo classes that there are in games like these, the better it is. And
We've heard from
you
the
look,
developers as well. They want to create a game that's fun, and they could suspend the law a little bit back just because they want to make a fun game.
listen, at the end of the day, it's all about having a fun time
Yeah,
playing a game.
yeah,
So if you need to like, I mean, like I think the Arcane Warrior class in Inquisition is reserved exclusively for elves in lore.
yeah.
But what if you just want to play it as like a Qunari or a dwarf or a human? Like they're not going to stop you. It's so fun. It's the best class in the game. I'll be
Right.
damned if I have to always choose elf every time I play if I want to use that class. But I definitely think like there's nothing stopping them from just having fun classes. Like I want to see Bard obviously come back. I definitely feel like
Yes.
Bard will come back.
Oh yes.
Shapeshifter, obviously.
Yes. Shapeshifter
I
would
think
be
that'd be
amazing.
super fun. I actually don't think we're gonna see Templar.
Really?
This, yeah, I mean, there's no Templars up north.
There are Twinter Templars, but they are just
Oh,
well, because obviously it's ruled by mages. They are more like I think they're more like the police, and well, obviously they already are, but they're kind of just not as authoritative, I think. But yeah, Twinter Knights Adventure
Maybe I don't know.
Templars.
Templars in like in every single game,
Yeah.
and we might still see, we might not, but I don't know. I definitely think we're gonna see more local inspired
Yes. Yes. Yes.
classes.
Yes.
Because
Yes. Yes.
like if we go off the assumption that like Dragon Age, well, not assumption, the fact that we know this, but Dragon Age 4 was just supposed to be a multiplayer game. Knowing that and knowing from the trailer, I obviously think we're gonna have some sort of like origin class system.
Right.
Now, I don't think that's going to restrict you. I don't think you have to be a sword and shield warrior to be a Grey Warden.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be exclusive to the origin you pick, because that's dumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, but I think obviously you might get subsets of certain classes, like depending on where you're from, like Blood Mage or whatever the heck the executors are.
Yeah.
You know, I can see getting some sort of specialization that you can go into depending on where you're from. give it a little bit of spice or just any kind of flair. Like for example, we saw like the Grey Warden, the one snippet of gameplay we got.
Yeah.
We saw the Grey Ward
Yeah.
use his little shield attack, and Griffin shields popped up. Now,
Yeah,
that
that's
doesn't
like
necessarily mean that you have to be a Grey Warden to use that ability. What
Yeah.
if you're, you know, a Carta member or something, and you
Yeah.
use that ability? There's just no Griffins, you know. It's
Yeah,
not. It's
yeah.
not good. It's the flair. It's the flavoring. It's the flavoring. That's the word I'm
Absolutely.
looking for.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
that,
so
I definitely think so. I want to see more crazy classes. I want to see more weird and wacky shit because it's Dragon Age. Why
yeah,
not?
it's Dragon Age, and you know it's the fourth entry. You know, but then you think about Origins. We got Blood Mages, we got Shapeshifters, you got so many, you know, Reavers.
Mhm.
You know, they really went whack and going out there. And let's return to that. We're going to Tevinter. You know, it's looking right now like it's this cyberpunk dystopia, and it's gonna be crazy. You know, as we know, Tevinter's known for Blood Mages, Red Lyrium. It's known for, you know, just a crazy magic. It's built on the fallen empire of the Elven. So why not have really crazy mage classes? I think, in my opinion, it would be a little bland if we went back to Rift Mage, Knight Enchanter, and Necromancer. And then also, obviously, you've also got the Mortalitassi, you know, who actually teaches the Inquisitor the Necromancer class anyway. But how about more Mortalitassi magic? And I know that's like I know it is like Necromancer.
How about
but-
a necromancy class that actually feels like it's about necromancy?
Yeah, exactly. Other than just reviving yourself when you go down.
And
as a
slowing time.
slow, yeah, time magic. You know, like
I
how
mean, I
many,
definitely want
you know,
time magic, but like I don't think necromancers
no,
should have
no.
a slow time ability. That's just
Yeah.
that felt
Like, I
weird
think
as
it'll be
a
cool
thing.
if you were a Mortalitassi and you could summon a familiar skeleton and he can attack enemies for you, or you can have more spells like that. I don't know. Just going, you know, more things out there. What if there actually was a summon ability in the game where you could summon a pet as an ally, like you could summon a Barbari to attack, or if you were an Mortalitassi, whatever, you could summon skeletons. If you were an Antavian Crow, you could summon a bird. I think that'd be really cool. But anyway, like, go out there. We're going to Tevinter. You don't need to stricken yourself with, okay, Rift Mage. And even on top of that, I don't want companions to have the same specializations. You know, I know we talked about this
I
on
remember you
Discord.
talking about this. You
Yeah.
want like unique
Like
companion
Fenris
specializations,
Fenris is the only Tevinter fugitive class in Dragon Age 2. Same with Isabella, she's only pirate smuggler, whatever she is, or buccaneer, whatever she is. Same with Varric, etc. Why in Inquisition, the fact that Solus is a Rift Mage and my Levelin was a Rift Mage, it's great because you can obviously use the same abilities as Solas. But I could also just play as Solas and use them. And there isn't that much uniqueness there. Whereas if Solas was, say, the only Rift Mage and then you had other classes open to my character, that's great. Because that brings in more incentive to play with those characters as well. Like, oh, I'm going to bring Solas because he uses the Rock Punch spell, and he's the only one that can use that. And I'll bring Blackwall because he's the best tank and he's the only one who is a champion, whatever class he is, and etc. And that was really appealing in Dragon Age 2, and it means that you have even more choice to bring people on missions as opposed to, oh well, I'm a Rift Mage, but I really like Solas, so I'm going to bring him as well. That's 2 Rift Mages to the team. There isn't really any variation there, but hey, I love Solas, I love his character, we'll still bring him anyway. So I would like that, because it just adds so much to it.
As a Knight Enchanter, I never brought Vivian anywhere.
Because you don't need to. You don't need to Knight Enchanters.
I think the only time I brought her was like during certain dragon fights, whichever dragons were weak to spirit energy, because, you know, 2 swords is better than 1. Other than that, I was like, don't worry, Vivian, I got this covered. You just sit on the couch.
Absolutely, because you don't need 2 Knight Enchanters. You know, what's the point?
But yeah, which is why I think unique specializations for companions negates that, because you don't have to worry about double stacking, because some people really hate double stacking because you could feel like you could be filling your thing with other times, especially in Inquisition, where depending on what classes you brought along with you, you could do certain things like light veil fire, bust through walls, or unlock chest. You feel like you're missing out on potential opportunities if you don't have a
party. Yeah, absolutely. You know, you don't want. I never went anywhere without a mage, a warrior, and a rogue. And obviously that's traditional D&D. It's traditional Dragon Age. But I would like them to be different specializations and give me a different purpose for them as well. And something that Andromeda did, which I don't know if Dragon Age would do, but it made Andromeda a lot better in this regard than the trilogy. It didn't strict you to one class. You could be a Vanguard if you wanted to, and you would get those bonuses if you were just a Vanguard. But you could be the Explorer, where you could literally be a jack of all trades. You could have a little bit of Soldier in you. You could have a little bit of adept spells, and Biotaker powers, or you could have some Engineer abilities, and you literally were able to make your own class. And that's something that I would like to see maybe Dragon Age do. I don't know to the full extent of what Andromeda did, where literally everything's unlocked to you, because I don't want to make every character a mage. That wouldn't make sense for the world of Dragon Age, because obviously, you know, there's a deep focus on mages and Templars in Dragon Age, and that would feel a little gimmicky if they did do that. But maybe they could do it where it is more of an unlocked system with rogues and warriors and a little bit of mages. I don't know. But I would like to see it a little bit more unlocked, where, I am my class is I am a rogue, but there are some warrior abilities I have access to, like maybe using a two-handed sword. Or, I'm a mage, but I can also use a sword and shield. Or I'm a rogue, and I can use a spell.
Like,
you know? I think that'd be really cool.
Nothing in the lore is saying that someone who has magical abilities, especially in an area like Tevinter, where you aren't shipped off to school for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Nothing's preventing them from saying, I got magic, but I mean, I kind of want to be a tank.
Yeah,
you know, like,
absolutely.
Nothing stopping them. And so I think, like, obviously, whether you have magic or not is a very big point in the lore.
Absolutely.
Like, it's very, very important.
And we don't want that retconned in the slightest, but...
No, not at all. It's not like, D&D where anyone with the right training could use magic. No, it's definitely not. Like, it's almost like there's like a checkbox whenever you're making your character, like, do you have magic capabilities? Are you a mage?
Yeah.
But that doesn't restrict you from choosing the warrior path. You just might have extra things unlocked to you. Of course, whether not that happens, I don't know, because BioWare, not necessarily BioWare, Dragon Age itself is very much in that, like, triangle of rogue, warrior, mage.
Yeah.
Like, it's ingrained into the series.
Yeah,
So whether or not they go down a more wishy-washy, mix them all together type of thing is yet to be seen. I think it'd be fun.
I think more honed in. I don't want it to be like Andromeda where it is just open. But like, for example, the Executor or whatever they are, concept art, I know it's just concept art, but they're literally an archer using a magic arrow. And we've seen it in the cinematic trailer too. It's like, whoa. Is that Veilfire magic? So that exclude, or is that Fade magic? Or is that brand new magic that we've never heard of? Or is it the bow? Is it just the weapon itself that's magical?
I think it's just green. I think it's just green.
But like, if it's just a weapon, then a warrior could pick that weapon up, or a rogue could pick, or a mage. Or a rogue, maybe they limit it to to classes that could use a bow. Maybe it's just a mage and a rogue can use it. But then if it's just a bow, they can pick it up and they can use it. And that gives the rogue a reason to use that bow as a magic weapon. It's just in the bow's power. I think I would like to see things like that. Maybe this would just change the entire conversation. But if mages can just use their staves as weapons, just be able to just, like in Dragon Age 2.
I think, like I said, since my Inquisitor was a Knight Enchanter, I also used the sword staff.
Oh, yes. Oh.
And I think that's first of all, it's so cool they have a mage dual wielding swords. That's why I'm really down for this. My favorite fantasy subclass is spell sword, like a mix of swords and spells.
Mix of two. Yeah.
And I think that right there is a good first step in the direction of what I think.
Absolutely. Summoning swords instead of actually using them, or having one that is a magical sword, And I'm sure BioWare have many crazy ideas for it, but this is just what we would like to see in terms of just a more, I don't know, I find the class system a little bit boring in Inquisition, if I'm honest. I found it a little bit, okay, cool, there's clearly one best class there's clearly one best specialization within the classes.
In each class, yeah.
Like Tempest is best for rogue, hands down, it's amazing as an archer, you will literally destroy everything. Knight Enchanter is the best mage one. Yes, Rift Mage is good, but Knight Enchanter is the best, in my opinion. And then Reaver is the best.
You don't die. Reaver could be good, but one, the AI doesn't play it well.
Yeah.
Iron Bolt goes down all the time.
Yeah, he does.
I feel like you could definitely do Reaver well if you tweaked it a bit, but I don't think AIs can play Reaver, because I definitely think obviously the best warrior class is champion, because Blackwall, contrary to Iron Bolt, Blackwall never dies. Blackwall never dies.
Literally, I remember I had him literally specced out with the specialization, but he had literally no armor weapons, and I was fighting a dragon. Everyone was dead, and he was still alive, but he had literally crap armor and crap weapon, but he was still going.
On my legendary playthrough of Inquisition, I was fighting the Impriest dragons, and it was just me and Blackwall. I think I had I had Varric and probably Cassandra with me as well, or Dorian, always Dorian. So Varric and Dorian were with me. They went down so quick, but Blackwall and I literally took the other 75% of his health off by ourselves.
Amazing.
Because those two specializations, if you spec them right, they don't fall, they don't die. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Although I do feel like legendary difficulty isn't that hard. Maybe it's because I was a Knight Enchanter, but I found the hardest part of legendary difficulty was the attack on Haven. that. Oh boy.
Yes. I have. Yeah, literally just gave me flashbacks to when I went that on Nightmare, and it
I
was just yes, like the final boss fight with either Fiona or the Red Lyrium dude.
yeah,
And I remember
it
that
was.
behemoth literally smacking my ass.
Yeah, I remember everyone going down. I only had Varric left, and I had to run on top of and run and jump on top of one of the tents that
Yeah,
Liliana stays at, and I
yeah,
had to shoot the sword boys from below.
yeah.
It was that
uh,
fight was hard,
yeah.
but of course after that you get the Skyhold
So you
and
get
you get
all
your
the stuff. Yeah,
specialization.
yeah,
You get
yeah.
your specialization and you get Night Enchanter, and then you don't die.
And then
So
yeah. And you also unlock crafting run as well,
I
where you can get the crafting with like the special like the
yeah.
iron bark and the guard and the
hmm
abilities. That's
I
when
felt the most powerful I think I felt in legendary difficulty was in the Jaws of Hakon DLC. There is a rift that is literally like four pride demons. I don't know if you remember that, but like
yes,
I
yeah.
just
It's one of the
I,
first.
I
It's one of the first
I
rifts. Yeah,
since they're pride demons, they're weak to spirit. So I
yeah.
took them all out very easily. And I was like, wow, what the heck? But definitely try to make it more challenging, I feel, is definitely a point
Yeah.
for sure. Because legendary is not legendary, nightmare. I'm getting Skyrim confused. Nightmare difficulty is difficult at some parts, but after a certain point, you just become too powerful.
So I guess moving on from that, if they did just stick to the basic mage warrior role classes, Anthem actually did that a pretty good job of that, in my opinion. Obviously, it's gunplay, it's very different, but they had a very good clean set class system from the suits, and it did a pretty good job. You had your tank, you had your DPS, you had your rogue, and then you had your mage. And I think that going forward, how much inspiration do you think Dragon Age will take from Anthem, especially given that it's actually being created with the same code base and tool set of the
I
Frostbite engine?
I think a lot more than people generally think.
Mm.
Like obviously Anthem, it had its complications to say the least.
It did, yeah.
But I still think it was a big step for BioWare.
Mhm.
Just getting used to that whole engine and everything
Yeah.
it's capable of, and just like how they are going to go about creating games in the future. I haven't played Anthem, and I just want to put that out there. So I can't really make a firm judgment. But you played it, and I think you said that the gameplay is fun. It's the story that falters.
Yeah, I found
Or
the
is
gameplay I found the gameplay loop, going out to Fort Tarsis while the loading screens were annoying. The gameplay loop of going out to Fort Tarsis, going out into the open world, and having that, this is your first person's perspective when you're in the hub and you got the story contained there, and then you can go out into the world with your friends or alone, and you can get resources and kill people, and flying is amazing. That was fun, but it's when it's the same missions over and over again, and it's the story that lacks and the characters aren't interesting, but the facial animations and the gameplay cycle are very good, and that's where for me it was fun, and that's why I finished it, and I did spend about 30 hours playing it because the customization was great, the different suits were amazing, flying was so good, shooting felt good, the abilities really felt unique. It's just the story and it not being a BioWare game, obviously being on online servers, the technical difficulties, the bugs, the loading screens. There were a lot of things you could see that there were in-engine issues when you were in the game, but it was a game created within 18 months, and to its detriment, it was an alright experience. And yeah, the gameplay, like Andromeda, was the best thing about it. And I think if Dragon Age did take inspiration, or a lot of it from Anthem, in terms of its combat or its gameplay, I think that would be a great idea, because it was fast, it was fun, it was unique enough with the flying and the different suits. They were very good. They were very well structured. They were definitely well paced. And I don't think that there was one that was better. Obviously, everyone did play as the Storm, because the Storm played a lot differently to everyone else. But for me, I loved the Interceptor, the rogue, dual-wielding, fast build that had traps and stuff like that. But then you had the Colossus, which was an amazing tank, and the Ranger, which was a good jack-of-all-trades DPS. So I genuinely think that they built those Anthem suits very differently and uniquely, that they had very good distinctive gameplay mechanics.
You could still see the very fantasy class system in place in that.
Absolutely.
And I could definitely see Anthem, or at least Dragon Age 4 as like a grounded Anthem.
And yeah, and honestly, if we did have a mage build that could fly, that would be amazing. Even just hover, that would be sick.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I feel like if you have that, you have to give something like that to every class.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of like, oh, obviously I want to play the flying class because
Yeah,
why
that's true.
wouldn't I?
That's
So like I feel like you can't really necessarily do something like that unless you give an equally as impressive thing to the other classes.
You can't just have like, I mean, in Dragon Age, you can't just give like the rogue like a jetpack. It's not going to make sense. Like, how would they?
Yeah.
You can't just have them, you know.
I would listen, I'd be here for it, right? I would be so down.
It would be cool if maybe they had like a companion that could fly instead, like the Mortalitassi, the one that we
Grapple
speculate.
hook. This
Yeah,
just grapple hook, honestly.
but it'd be cool if we did have a
Grapple hooks
Mortalitassi.
are hot right now.
Yeah, yeah, but it'd be cool if we did have a companion that could fly, and that gives you an incentive to play as them. You know, like Cole could go invisible, and he would be like a spirit. You know, that'd be cool. But no, I think that honestly, the suits in Anthem were great as a foundation for what Dragon Age 4 could be. Again, we're not saying that Dragon Age 4 is going to be anything like Anthem. It won't be, from what we can assume. But it's on the same code base, so there will be a few things that are similar, I imagine. But I do think that if it did take inspiration from those suits, that would be great. I found the Colossus a great, like, it was a gun and shield. But if they literally crossed over that same gameplay to a warrior, a sword and shield warrior, that would be fantastic because it worked really well in Anthem. You could charge through mines using a shield, and it was so fun, just charging at your enemies ahead, shield bashing them, and then just blasting them with a gun. It was great fun. If Dragon Age did take inspiration from that, that'd be great. Also, the destructible environments. That was great in Anthem.
Oh
You
yeah,
could shoot through
that's fun.
shacks and they would explode, and it was great. So I think that while
Just
Anthem...
imagine being able to throw a
flawed-
fireball and just blowing up a shed in
Oh,
Dragon
yes.
Age. That would be so great.
Yeah. You just destructed... You know, that was teased at the PAX Prime 2013 demo. And I think that it was set back because of previous gen. I don't know the real reason behind it. But destructible environments has been something that the Frostbite engine does perfectly, just like a battlefield for that. And it'd be great to have a little bit of that in Dragon Age 2. There are certain aspects of Anthem that BioWare should definitely take advantage of for Dragon Age 4.
Oh, absolutely.
And
yeah.
that combat, it's great. And Andromeda, going forward for the next Mass Effect and the next Dragon Age, the combat of Andromeda and Anthem, they are fun. And it's showing that, you know, they are creating fun combat. And I think now it's Dragon Age's turn to have that. Inquisition was great, don't get me wrong, it was fun. But for me, it still has that jank and that clunk where
Yeah,
I would like it just to be fast-paced, where you have tactics, but less jank. More straight to it, like Anthem and Andromeda, where it's just, okay, you could cast your spell, and it's that instant, it's that instantaneous, and it's up close, and it's brutal. Yeah, and I would love for that to have for Dragon Age, just a full-on action RPG.
Here's what you do. You just make fade step not stop, right? Like you just never cool down fade step. You go vroom, 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 then the game's fun. The game's great. But I can definitely see that BioWare has had the last decade to really experiment and play around on this system. And for the most part, it's been great. Yeah. Obviously, where it lacks is what most people are here for, which is the narrative of the story. But I'm not worried about that because we got Patrick Weeks, and Patrick Weeks is a fantastic writer.
As well as many other developers who've been at John Epler, who's the narrative, you know, like, I don't want to give Weeks too much pressure as well, because I know that they may feel the burden of literally everyone being like, we've got Weeks, but there are so many amazing writers like Cheryl Chi, like Mary Kirby, like John Epler is the narrative director, so many amazing people, and we trust in that team because that's the team that's been creating all the Dragon Age games. And if you want an example of Weeks' work, just look at the Trespasser DLC with John Epler's narrative direction. That
didn't he also do
as a snippet
Morden?
for DFO. Yeah, Weeks did Morden. Well, they helped create Morden. They helped create Tally, which, I mean, we'll pass. We'll pass on. I'm joking. I'm not the biggest Tally fan, but I respect Tally.
I think Tally's a great character. I romance Liara, but Tally's close. Tally's close.
But Weeks created Miranda Lawson, one of my favorite. Liara is my favorite at the moment. I love Liara. But yeah, Weeks created the Lair of the Shadowbroker DLC. They worked on the Trespasser DLC. They worked on the Leviathan DLC. They have an amazing portfolio, along with many of the other writers. So we trust in the narrative. Also, Sila Costa said recently that BioWare believe, this is not me, this is not my, hyperbolicisms or my own hyperbole. BioWare said that they feel like they are creating the best story with Dragon Age 4. So they're setting the bar very, very high already. That's not, that's their own.
They're doing it themselves.
They're doing it. This isn't me blowing the hype out of proportion. They've already done it to themselves anyway by saying that. So they believe that with the next Dragon Age, they are creating the best story. We would like to see now just a decent level of gameplay up there. And I do believe that the best things about Anthem and Andromeda were its gameplay. And it's just seeing that if BioWare, with a lot of those Anthem developers and Andromeda developers, and then the OG Dragon Age developers, can then actually uplift that Dragon Age gameplay to that standard. rounded.
I'm not expecting like the perfect like gameplay experience, you
Yeah.
know, like I'm not expecting like, oh, this is peak of gaming, you know, like
Yeah.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm not expecting that because you shouldn't expect that from
No.
anyone.
No, you
Like that's
shouldn't.
an unobtainable goal.
At
But
the end
I
of the day,
just
they are RPG creators. You know that they're known for
yeah.
narrative-based experiences. It's expecting, you know, it's expecting like amazing first-person combat. And this is probably the bad example for a game to choose, Cyberpunk. But it was like expecting a great first-person experience from that when fundamentally it was an RPG, or at least it tried to be an RPG. You know, we're not expecting amazing in-sync third-person action combat, but we would at least like a few improvements based on Inquisition, and you know they're showing that with Anthem and Andromeda.
I would just like a natural progression.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
the word.
because
Yeah, that's the word.
you can see that you can see that in Dragon Age as a franchise.
Yeah,
Like you can see it especially with Dragon Age 1 to 2.
absolutely.
Like it's just a smoothed out version of 1. And with Inquisition, I can imagine you can see from Inquisition to Anthem and Andromeda.
They
And
try
all that,
really
you can
hard.
see-
Yeah.
yeah, you can see the progression. So I think like getting to the point of where we're going to be in 2023 when the game maybe comes out, we still don't know. I think we can expect a very solid gameplay experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for me, I just don't want it to feel MMO-y, where it's like hold RT to attack, hold click button to attack. I would like it just to be more straight up. When I swing, I'm swinging. When I'm not swinging, I'm not swinging. For me, that just feels so MMO-y. It's like, okay, I'm just going to hold this button and now I'm constantly attacking. I want it to be like, okay, when I'm swinging the axe and it's constantly going.
I didn't think of that. That's all of the
Yeah.
Dragon Age games
Yeah,
for the basic
yeah.
attacks. Yeah.
And I get it. It's that MMO-y style and it's a tactic style. But if they are going for that third-person action RPG style, I do want it to be, okay, I'm swinging my axe and it's hitting them and I'm not pressing any buttons anymore. Okay, it stops. You know, I just don't like that MMO feel, and I think that's a huge criticism of Inquisition. Too much did it feel like an MMO, understandably because it did have MMO game designers behind it, but I would like it not to feel as much of an MMO and more action-based, like Andromeda and Anthem.
It's gonna be weird because like this game started out as a multiplayer game, and I want to know how far that
You're
goes.
right. Yeah.
Because obviously, what I feel like we're good from that. We're gonna get open areas. We're gonna get mounts. Whether we get a griffin or not, you know, this. I mean, you know, I'm just saying. Probably not yet. Not yet. Even if there are griffins, I think the Grey Wards would probably keep that close to their chest.
Our griffins. Yeah.
I mean, they're like an extinct species. Do you know how many people would like hunt them down if they knew that griffins were there?
Absolutely.
So much.
Solas will be hunting them down. Solas will be on one. Literally, he'll turn up and be like, "Ha, my griffin!" You know, steal all the eggs.
I don't know if that would contribute to his overall plan, but I mean,
He'll do it like, okay, the ritual's in motion. You all are gonna die in 4 years, but until then, I'm gonna ride a griffin and just haul it out of here.
listen, you don't listen. My agents, you don't understand. Getting griffin eggs is so crucial to our plan. You have no idea. Just trust me on this.
Literally.
But yeah, I can definitely see because obviously I feel like we might get some multiplayer like elements because obviously it's a single player game, but it had that foundation of being a multiplayer game at the time. At least at the time of we're recording this, which we don't know if the next thing is going to be EA Play, if that's when we're going to see something.
Yeah, we don't know when.
But they could come out tomorrow and it's Diablo, and that's what the game is. And we're like, oh, well, shit, I can't release the video now. At the end of the day, we don't know what the game is going to look like. We can make educated guesses based off the past.
Yeah.
And the work that BioWare has done over the past decade, but they could just completely 180 us and catch us completely off guard.
Absolutely. And the thing is, what's most interesting is, while we are doing a lot of Anthem comparisons, because I think that is the best game to relate this to, because, you know, it was the last game to come out, the last official BioWare IP to come out. Obviously, Legendary Edition did just come out. But the last thing fresh off from BioWare was Anthem. And Dragon Age 4 is built on its code base and using its same iteration of the Frostbite engine. Even so, BioWare right now is still hiring for a senior gameplay designer who is going to be creating combat and helping with the overall feel of the camera, the character, and so forth. So even right now, at its current point, BioWare is still working on that feel of the gameplay and the combat. So we could make all these comparisons as much as we want, but BioWare are probably in the midst of creating that gameplay system right now. But yeah, that's just how far away the game is, and while we have seen prototypes, it's going to change multiple times. You know, we could want this idealistic version of it, or we could compare it to Anthem, but could look completely different.
And even what we get might not be what we get, you know, like if they could show us gameplay.
Yeah,
as
it's
early as
always
who knows
changing.
when.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like PAX Prime, at 2013 demo, I made a video on it called The Dragon Age Inquisition We Almost Got. The gameplay there, the camera was very much third person, it was zoomed in, there was armors and weapons that aren't in the game, there was destructible environments, and, they did say this isn't representative of the actual finished project, but they were marketing that PAX Prime demo, those features in that trailer, which the game was coming out like 6 months after that trailer, after that demo, and they weren't in the game. They weren't, they changed so much within those 6 months of development time. So the game will constantly change shape. And while we have seen those prototype shots very, very early of that Grey Warden, but, third person, zoomed in, and I already like that camera feel already, but we can't get too attached to that because it's going to change 6 months before the game comes out. So yeah,
it's going to be constantly shifting and changing because that's just how a game developer
absolutely
works.
And there'll be features that they look at now and think they're amazing, and they look at that in a year and go, wow, that sucks, we need to change that. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they develop the next game. But ultimately, the gameplay does matter just as much as the story, because it's a game at the end of the day, and you're going to spend 90% of the game exploring it, engaging
like people
combat.
aren't going to spend $60-$70, however much this game's going to cost, for a novel.
Why
I mean,
go read
I
through it
would,
tonight?
right?
Yeah.
I would, I
Yeah.
would, but like it's not good. You need an engaging gameplay system for a video game,
And
like I
a
said
good
at
gameplay
the
loop
start.
as well. What the gameplay loop of Inquisition is, and this is something that we can spend a while probably talking about. Like the whole Inquisition is, okay, so you do the main missions, and then you have to go get more power behind a locked mechanic so that you do more side quests. So now you are going into different areas, doing fetch quests, destroying anchors, and then you're going back to Skyhold or going back to Haven and doing the next main mission, having unlocked power, and then you're doing it all over again. So the gameplay cycle is literally unlock power, main mission, go back into the open world to do fetch quests, unlock power, main mission, go back to and it's that constant cycle. What is Dragon Age 4's gameplay cycle going to be? Is it going to be like the previous games where you just do the main quests as you want and you go along your journey, you get characters along the way, you may miss them, you may not, you can do side quests if you want, you don't have to, but you literally, the cycle is just completing the story.
I think in an ideal world, in the best timeline, it's similar to Inquisition, but without the power restriction.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if you just want to go, you can just go.
That'd be
you
amazing.
might definitely you'll miss out on people like for example, if that was the case in Inquisition, you might miss out on Blackwall, you might miss out on Iron Bull.
Yeah.
Like, the game rewards you for going out of your way.
Yes.
But it doesn't force you.
Absolutely.
Like
you
obviously,
don't have to go find Connor in Hinterlands if you have him in the world state. But the game does reward you if you did explore the docks and you did talk to him by having that conversation. Obviously, you have to go to the Hinterlands and you have to do that stuff anyway. But if you didn't have to and you had the option to then go to that area and then meet those characters, that'd be great. But the thing is, I do understand the developers want you to engage in all of this content that they've created, and they don't want you to just fly through the main quest and not experience those characters and those quests. But there's a way they do it without it being forced and it being like, okay, I have to go spend 20 hours in the Hinterlands to get to progress the next mission. Like, what? I don't want that.
Like, a player wants to just breeze through the story.
Let them.
I mean, that's on them, they'll miss
Yeah.
out on all this cool content, but at the end of the day, that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
And if they complain about it, well, that's also on them. Why are you complaining about it when you had the option to do this? But at the end of the day, like, if you want to just burst through the story and you just want to, like, that's all you're here for, you might be punished for it by missing out on cool characters and cool side quest. But if that's not what you wanted or cared about, then you won't care. You'll just get what you wanted, which was the main story.
Absolutely.
And that's like with people who play games in such a diverse way, you're not going to appease everyone.
Absolutely.
But you can at least try to appeal to a good number of people.
Something that is disheartening that lots of people have said and they constantly talk about is just how they loved Inquisition, but they never finished it because the Hinterlands was just too dang long, or they didn't know how to escape, or they didn't know what to do, and that is just something that it's a stigma of Inquisition. Hinterlands was too damn long. There was too many fetch quests. We didn't know what we were doing. I never finished it because it was too long, or the pacing was off for me. And it's all to do with the Hinterlands. And unfortunately, Andromeda kind of did the same thing, where it's EOS and you can do so many things, but you don't know what you're supposed to be doing. It's like, okay, well, you can follow this mission and you can do that, but there's so much content you could be doing instead of doing this main quest. It's like, I'm not saying cut out the side quests, cut out the fetch quests, and have brilliant or smaller side quests. But
I feel like more clear direction
yeah.
would be necessary. Like, if after a certain point the game said, all right, you can go back to Haven if you do this, you know, like,
But just not having those massive open worlds, trimming them down to, oh, instead of an open world, you have a huge city hub, and you can explore Memrafis, and you have side quests in Memrafis you can go and explore for. But if you want to go to the Archon's Palace, for example, for this next mission, well, you can go there. But on your way to the Archon's Palace, you can encounter these 3 characters where you could explore the sewers of Memrafis, you could meet Fenris in Memrafis, you can go for a pint of Ogren in Memrafis, whatever. But if you just want to go to the Archon's Palace, you can.
I don't want to go for a pint with Ogre.
But you know, like, it's like, instead of having it, oh, you want to go see Connor, well, you have to go from the crossroads all the way to the hinterlands, and you got to have that conversation, and then you can go collect those shards and do those fetch quests, and then you go fight the dragon, and then you can go and deal with this dude down in the fort in the hinterlands. It's all so fetch questy, and it's made just to stretch out the game. When in reality, if Dragon Age 4 was 30 hours, but it was amazing, who cares? That's great. I don't need it to be 100 hours and then 30 hours of that game was great. I would rather the game be 30 hours, but those 30 hours were constantly amazing, and I wasn't kicking myself having to collect shards, and I was enjoying every single bit of it. That for me is great. That's why The Outer Worlds was good, because it was just, okay, here's the game, here's the story, and go for it. If you want to do side quests, go for it. But if you just want the game, there you go.
There are definitely games where that kind of like boom the world go fits. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Breath of the Wild is a perfect example of that.
Skyrim.
Elder Scrolls is a perfect example of that.
They do it so well because but that's your character's journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm an elf.
That's the point of those games. Those games are so open. Yeah. It's what you know that going in, and that's what you bought the game for. Absolutely. Dragon Age, you're not buying the game for that.
You're not. You're absolutely not. You're buying it. And I think even if we were buying it for that, BioWare have proven that they can't do it well. They've done it in Anthem and Andromeda and Inquisition now, where it's just these open world, fetch quest filled worlds are not fun. And I don't want them to have a fourth chance of trying to do it again, because they've proven now that they just can't do fetch quests in open worlds well. They just can't. Whereas Bethesda are great at doing it, and Nintendo are great at doing it. BioWare have proven now enough times that they just can't do it. So it's just like, okay, just cut it out. Cut the fetch quests out. Cut the open worlds out. Have linear with freedom worlds like Origins. Or you go to the Dalish camp. Well, you can go talk to Zafrian straight away, but you can also go and talk to these other elves and do this other quest and do that stuff. You can go to Denham now if you want to, and you can go talk to the blacksmith. You get some new armors. You can talk to his people, or you can just go to the Landsmeet.
The Landsmeet.
Yeah, but so it's having side quests and not fetch quests, and trimming those open worlds down, and just having more hub worlds. I would say, like Mass Effect does it well. Mass Effect's a great example of how BioWare done well. Where those hub worlds are developing over time, like the Citadel. You go here after a certain mission. Okay, you got a new quest at the Citadel. They could do that in Memrafis. They could just have one massive city hub in Dragon Age 4, and it could be Memrafis, and it just constantly develops over time. Like Kirkwall, the act sequences in Kirkwall was amazing. Even how the characters develop in that, romances develop, stories progress. It's so good. And Dragon Age 2 is the best paced.
It depends on what the focus is going to be. Yeah. Like, are we focusing on Minrathis?
Yeah.
Like, is that the setting of the game, or is the setting of the game Tevinter as a whole? Because obviously it looks like we're going to be somewhat in the Anderfels, or at least you will be if you chose the Grey Warden origin path. And you could be coming from across the sea as an executor. It depends on what the focus of the game is.
Absolutely.
Are you going to be focusing on like one specific narrow, like under a microscope city, and they have enough time to flesh out that whole city so beautifully well? Or are they going to broaden the horizon a bit to cover more of Tevinter? Like, that's something that we don't know yet.
We don't,
And depending on what they do is going to affect a lot.
And I think Mass Effect's a good comparison, because you've got the entire terminus system, or the council space of Mass Effect, but it's all honed in on the Citadel, a few of these planets. While it is, the threat of the entire universe, you are very much honed in on council space. So, they could do it where, Tevinter as a whole is at stake, but you're honed in on Memrafis, maybe Antiva City as well, and maybe whatever, Navarre, whatever. It is honed in on those city hubs. It depends, because obviously Inquisition, it's about building an army. It's about growing. It's about going new places. It's about building and getting different agents and doing fetch quests for people who can join the army, whatever. Dragon Age 4 seemingly isn't going to be about that. I think the last thing we'll be doing is be creating an army. I think we might, liaison with factions and maybe get representatives of each faction and might build an army that way, but I don't think it's going to be, we will literally...
If we build an army, it's going to be more subtle.
Yeah, it's going to be spies.
It's not going to be like, bring your dudes to our fort. It's going to be, hey, you got my back, right? It's
Yeah.
like gonna be like that kind of building army, building
Yeah.
alliances and a connection, if you will. Maybe again, that might not even be a thing that we
Yeah.
do. We could just be fucking around trying to sabotage Solus or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, we could be like what I would love to see is smaller suicide mission scale missions in Dragon Age, where it's like, okay, you have this heist
It's
mission.
almost like we're a Black Ops team or something.
Yeah, yeah, and certain characters are really good at certain parts of each mission, and you are selecting certain characters for certain missions and going around like a heist in a Tevinter ruin, and you need to
Yeah,
go through, or you're going
and
for a heist
make
in
sure you.
Raphus's whatever. And it's making sure that your squad's ready or your squad's good up for this. I would like that personally. I know it's very much
Yeah.
Mass Effect 2 inspired, but that's what it
You,
sounds
just
like.
you
they're
just
going
you just
in.
want to play Mass Effect 2 again. You always bring up like, oh, I want a ship as my hub. Like you just want to be
It's
on
true.
the Normandy. You just want to be
It's
on-
true, but I like the vibe of Mass Effect 2, where it is we're dealing with a huge threat, but we do have this one crew that's the only one that's going to handle with it. You know,
This
we
one
know that.
crew and infinite funding.
Yeah, somehow, yeah, obviously, yeah, infinite, yeah. But you know, as Weeks did say, the people in charge are not going to want to deal with the issue. Maybe that's because they're scared of the Dread Wolf, or they just have their own bureaucracy to deal with.
I feel like it's a mix of this is just again this is my speculation from the plot narrative, but it's a mix of like they have their own shit to handle, but also they would draw too much attention.
Yeah, and they're also probably scared of the Dread Wolf, because if he has Bard, blood magic, and binding spirits to your own will, the Motalatasi and the Tevinter kinsmen as a whole are literally outlawed there. And if the Dread Wolf had literally appeared in the Fade to you, you're like, yeah, right, yeah, we're not gonna do that anymore. Or him, we're not gonna fight him. Sorry, like do that yourself, literally. Like he's gonna be the biggest threat I can assume for the first quarter of the game that anyone in Fadus has ever seen, from what we can assume. So I think a lot of people will have their own bureaucracy, like Tevinter Magisterium. They'll be dealing with their own little scuffles in the Cunari War, of course. But I think they're obviously going to be fearful of him as well.
How prominent Solus wants to make himself.
Which, as we can see in Tevinter Nights, it's very, very prominent
Very,
at the moment.
very, very prominent. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would like that smaller scale of going against him with heists, with that being the main focus of the mission. Maybe getting allies to help with the heists, or finding ways to outmaneuver Solas. And if that's the gameplay loop, then you don't really need to be going out to do fetch quests, really. You don't need to be collecting shards. I would like areas to explore for sure. I would love to go and do, smaller side quests and a few fetch quests, like collecting bottles that maybe makes your hub look better, or, getting unlocks for your hub and stuff like that. But I don't want the game to be literally just, okay, spend 50 hours fighting these dudes for Dorian.
Yeah, you don't want to fight the same. Also, that's another thing. Dragon Age, I feel, has pretty good enemy variety. I just want more. We already know we're getting a hand spider, which I could honestly do without. But I feel like a more like enemy variety is also very important. We have all these demons; they're gonna come back, obviously. But I just want interesting, cool things to fight.
Absolutely. I want sea monsters. Instead of dragons, I would love just a massive sea monster.
That would, oh jeez, don't. That'd be freaky. I mean, I would love it, right? I would love it, but oof, that would be something to see.
Just you just hear like there's just a literally like a kraken or a Lovecraftian monster attacking Tevinter, and it's like, oh, looks like everyone's gonna go have to deal with that, and you're like, oh shit.
It'd be even worse if you're on the boat. Oh man,
Stuff like that. I think the biggest thing that I do want from the gameplay side is just a fresh experience. Honestly, I don't want it to feel like an MMO, as I've said. I want it to have a new
fresh and
feel.
familiar.
Fresh and familiar with a similar system, obviously still being an RPG, still having that dynamic, but also faster, more impactful combat. What Inquisition did well was we had so many different specializations. It was great. We had 9, which is so amazing. 9 different specializations. They could have just given us 1 or 2, but they went for 3 per class, which is awesome.
What more?
But like, I don't really necessarily want more. I would rather just have really amazing honed-in ones, or a mixture of multi-classes. It did the feel of gameplay well. When you swung a sword, you could tell your character was lifting heavy. The impact of that was great. It was fun, it was fast, the tactic system was good, and they did a lot of hard work to get that tactic system working with then their third-person style system. That was really good. But I would love to see more combos, more, like in Mass Effect when you're playing it and you can throw an enemy and then an ally can then use like warp and it creates a biotech explosion. It's amazing to see those explosions and getting those combos when you incinerate, and then they're so cool to see. I'd like more of that in Dragon Age. Where it's say, the mage is using a fire spell, and then I'm able to like use an ice spell or whatever, and it's just the combo of it. I know you get a little bit of an Inquisition with the ice, but I want more of those combos, because it just makes it great, and it gives you incentives to bring other companions along as well.
Exactly. Like mixing and matching and things bouncing off each other nicely is always fun. You
Yeah,
know,
absolutely, absolutely.
like obviously the shatter mechanic in Inquisition is a big deal. Or not necessarily a big deal, but you can exploit it
You can,
for your
yeah,
own gain.
like just
But
fade jumping at people and then just smashing with your sword.
mhm. I know a lot about that, trust
Yeah,
me.
absolutely, absolutely.
I guess like a variety of things, a variety of cool gameplay and elements, but it also feels like you're playing the Dragon Age game. Like it's an
Yeah.
RPG.
Yeah, I would like the camera system to be a little bit more forward to it. I like that, what we saw from the prototypes. I like that placement. 'Cause I did feel Inquisition was a bit too stretched out. And I
Mhm.
get it, it's to suit the tactic system and to see your other companions as well. But I like that God of War zoomed in camera where, you are in the action. And I have a mod myself to fix that. But I like that personally, and I hope they do stick to something like that. It just feels you're in it more.
Yeah,
But no,
yeah, it feels more personal.
yeah, that's it. That's it.
So the big question is, if there was one thing above all else that you would want included in the next Dragon Age game, what would it be, gameplay wise? Not narrative wise, because we all know what we want narrative wise, and it's a Scout Harding romance. But
Yeah, I would say for me it's probably some kind of subclasses, and I was talking a lot about that. But just being able to maybe just have an attribute system where if I am a mage, I can use a magic bow. If I am a warrior, I can use two swords. Or if I'm a rogue, I can use a two-handed sword. And it's just having it where it's not a complete exploitation of the lore and it's not retconning anything, but having it where, we have these characters who can do different things from the past, where if I want to be a rogue and I want to use a two-handed sword and stealth up people, but then smash them with a massive axe or a massive sword, I can do that because it makes sense, and I guess it doesn't make sense in regard of you're supposed to be stealthy, you're supposed to be sneaky, but it's just changing up a little bit. Yeah, subclasses in a way, maybe more simplified, how we saw that archer, how they're firing that bow. It looks like they're a mage, but they're also using a bow that incentivizes that they're a rogue. So something like that, I would definitely like to see subclasses and just more divergence of those subclasses too. Like bards. Bards in Dragon Age are very obscure because in the multiplayer they are mages. Yet obviously Dragon Age Origins, the bard class was a rogue specialization. So it's okay. Then if I was a bard in Dragon Age 4, would I be a mage? Would I be a rogue? Maybe you could
I
be a
think
mix of the two.
the typical idea of a bard is the D&D bard, but in Dragon Age lore, bards are like spies.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But
it's really like, what do we do? There's this
yeah.
common conception of
Yeah, literally. So hey, if I'm gonna be a mage rogue, but I'm still a bard, that would be the dream for me. I would love to be able to literally have a small dagger or a sword, and then pull out a guitar, and then cast bard spells like you could in the multiplayer, and sing whatever. Maybe not singing because that might be a bit too hard for the developers to do. But whatever. Like I would love a bard class. So yeah, the subsets of classes would be really cool. What about you?
Right.
What's the one thing that you would like to see?
I want more of a hands-on customizable experience.
Yeah.
Whether like that is what you were talking about with multi-class stuff, but I want to really get into the nitty-gritty of the game mechanics.
Yeah.
And just go as deep as to make my characters the best they can be.
Yeah.
Like obviously that would entail giving us the attribute system back so we can spec our characters how we want them.
Yeah.
Obviously they could have a recommended path that BioWare thinks they should take, and that's perfectly fine. But being able to customize through gear, enchantments, stats, and everything my team the way that I want, so that I can center it around my gameplay style, I feel like that will not only be great for me, but it'll be great for just anyone in general, because the more control you give the player, the better experience the player will have.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. And a Scout Harding romance.
that could be saved for another time.
No, yeah, definitely.
Just a fun game, and I don't think that's too much to ask for.
Yeah.
Fun gameplay loop where it's not draining for the players, and we can customize it a little bit. Obviously, we've said multiple things that we'd like throughout this, but as a whole, I'm sure it's going to be fun, and we know the developers are trying to make it fun, and they're probably still trying to work it out too. So I guess it's just being patient with that, but also addressing the flaws that they have done in the past, so that they can make a better system.
Regardless, I'm gonna get the game. I'm not stopping. Nothing stopped me from pre-ordering this game. I'm gonna do it. I still would like to see, and I would like to see something cool, unique, and familiar at the same time, to where I can say, yeah, that's Dragon Age, and I can have a fun time while playing it, to where it makes me want to come back to it again for a second playthrough.
Absolutely.
Like I said, earlier, I cannot go back and play Dragon Age Origins. My God, that game is hard to play. It is aged poorly in the game department. Narrative stands up, narrative supreme. It is one of the best fantasy stories ever, but I can't play it. Inquisition,
Yeah.
I can play over and over and over again because I
Yeah.
like that gameplay. And I feel like better developing that and better making just the feel of the game fun, combining it with a fantastic narrative, then you could have potentially the best game of the series.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of pressure, I know, but
But you know, BioWare reaching for the stars. They've already said this is going to have the best story. So let's hope that they can also create the best gameplay system. You know, at the end of the day, it is going to be a 2023 plus title. It's on the front, the latest iteration of the Frostbite engine. Anthem was a good indicator of gameplay. So I have high hopes that they can make a really good system. I really do.
I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
I definitely think we should, obviously, don't get your expectations up
No,
too
don't
high.
be like,
because,
yeah.
Because like, it's like, this is
Flying-
gonna be the
yeah.
greatest game ever. We're gonna fly all over the place with griffins and
Yeah, well, that'd be cool.
turn into a dragon.
Like flying mages and having dual classes and having all this really cool stuff would be amazing. At the end of the day, stick to what we know, Dragon Age, you know. And I think if we have our expectations on, it's probably going to be a better version of Inquisition, then that's going to be great anyway, you know, why not?
I mean, again, like, I completely enjoyed that, so I won't have that much of a problem. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm hoping the gameplay is going to be fun, which I'm pretty sure it will be, and then the narrative will also keep me engaged. So
Absolutely.
I
And that's
think
all we can- yeah,
I
that's-
just want to see more. Can they please show me more? Just
Yeah, absolutely. And that's all we can really ask for. Is for a decent, fun game and to see more. But no, this has been a really great. This is the first entry to the Landsmeet. We don't really know how we're doing the structure, so you know, the next episode could be completely different towards this one. But it's ultimately just supposed to be a fun, interesting, very much natural conversation-based podcast. And I really hope that you enjoyed this first episode. Give us questions down below that we can actually answer in future episodes. Marshall will be a recurring guest, while some guests may never return. That sounds very ominous. Like in reality, like the idea is that I do bring on multiple people in the fandom to get a better, you know, just to very out there. You know, there's so many interesting people out there in the fandom that I never spoke with, but I'm like, you know what? If they would be interested in joining a podcast or coming on for one episode, that'd be amazing. And so, yeah, expect every conversation to be different, to be completely unique from the other, and it's obviously going to be depending on the guest. You know, with Marshall, we've had a very intricate conversation about gameplay, but I could talk to someone next time, and it could be literally why I like Dragon Age and what it means to them and how it's changed their lives. So that's the main feel we're going for, where it's not just locking down on lore or locking down on a certain conversation or a certain way. It's very much going to be an experimental podcast, and we're going to try and do new things, and we might do round table discussions where I bring on other people and my mods and everyone else and Marshall, or it could be just be me talking to maybe potentially a developer one day. I don't know. We're just going to see where it goes, and we're going to have fun with it, and we're not going to settle on an idea of what it is just yet, because it'll grow and it'll find its place. But I really hope that you enjoyed this first episode, and if you have any feedback on what you'd like to see, be sure to let us know down below, because I would absolutely greatly appreciate that. You know, while I have done podcasts in the past, I am not, you know, fully adversed on podcasting as a whole. So if you have any feedback on what you'd like to see, on any tips, any tricks, that'd be amazing too. But ultimately, thank you so much, Marshall, for being here for the first ever Landsmeet. I really,
thank you
really
for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
Absolutely, man.
I'm so glad that we're finally getting this thing going.
Yeah.
It's been in the works, and we're like, all right, it's time. It's time to go. And I'm really excited for this series, because I think one of the best parts about Dragon Age is the people behind it and the community surrounding it.
Yeah.
And just being able to just talk. Like, we've had entire conversations, I feel like, while we were planning this, we were like, we can talk about this, and then we talked about it for 20 minutes, and we had to stop ourselves.
Yeah.
But just talking to fans and people who like this game and like these franchises, I think going to be a fantastic thing, and it's definitely something that a lot of people can get behind. Everyone has their own experience.
Absolutely, and it's not something that I want to like just bring in creators or artists or people. I will bring on, you know, literally people who, you know,
I'm just a guy.
Marshall's, well, I mean, he's more just a guy, but he's a mod in my server, and obviously that's a great deal. But I want to be bringing on people who just like Dragon Age. So if you want to be on in the future, let me know as well down below, because I would love to have people lining up to want to be on this and just have, if you've got an interesting story about what Dragon Age means to you, or you want to see something in the next game, or you have an interesting conversation, go for it. I have ideas on topics about Anders apologists. It's all about apologists.
That's gonna be an episode.
In defense of the Q. We have so many interesting conversations that we could have, and if you've got a unique conversation that's just like that, or you just really like Dragon Age and want to talk about different parts of the lore, that'd be great. So be sure to get in touch. If you also want to come and talk to me and Marshall as well in our Discord and in voice chats as well, on a non-Landsmeet record, join our Discord, become a channel member today, or join on my Patreon, and you can join in on those discussions as well, where they are not recorded and put online, because I completely understand if that is very intrusive as well. But no,
Wait, I thought we were recording everything in our Discord. That's what we're doing, right? I have all the footage.
But no, you can join that if you want to. If you want to, talk to Marshall as well. I think Marshall, you got Twitter as well. People want to follow you on Twitter if they want to get more of you.
Yeah, just my Twitter will be it's right there. You can see right there. I'm leaving this to you, Jack.
Honestly, guys, I really appreciate you listening to this new podcast and giving it a chance. If you listened to this far, I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, let's see where this journey takes us. But thank you so much, and again, thank you so much, Marshall, for joining me for this first episode, introducing this new idea to you all. And yeah, I hope you're all staying safe, and I'll see you in the next one. But until then, have a good one, everybody.
Bye.